As we look across the country, you go throughout the entire nation, back when all the infrastructure was literally laid, this stuff is dilapidated all over the country, buildings falling apart, old crappy lead tiles all over the place. All of this stuff is completely fixable. And you go and you think about what maintenance across the U.S. would look like, across every aspect, from our territories, you name it, our schools, etc. Just fixing things, just maintaining them, would create an incredible boom of jobs. Why do we not do that? What do you think that is?
I think it's a big corporate agenda. Again, it's the privatization agenda. Why is it that the public schools have collapsed? K to 12. I see it everywhere. I see it in Florida. I've lived in several other states in the course of my teaching career. I see it everywhere now. And I don't think that the problems of the schools are like rocket science. I don't think they're that difficult to solve. I think if we pay teachers a lot more, of course, you need a post-tenure review to make sure that the quality of the teachers remain hardworking and all that. But if we pay teachers much more and had a lot more teachers in smaller class sizes and more manageable teaching schedules, and allowed schools to once again have art and music and physical education like we had when I was growing up, I think the schools would be fixed pretty quickly. But I see right here in Broward County, the voters passed an $800 million bond a few years ago to fix up the deteriorating schools. And when I say deteriorating, I mean to the point of the physical plant, that there's mold and mildew in classrooms everywhere now and in schoolrooms everywhere, to the point where the local newspapers like the Miami Herald and the Sun Sentinel have had articles about how hundreds of children and teachers and staff are sick every week. Well, guess what? The school board has hardly touched the $800 million. I don't know what they're waiting for. To me, it seems like a calculated plan all over the country to privatize the public schools for commercial gain. And let's not keep the waterworks up. Let's let them deteriorate. And I think it's a number of things that are happening, or a number of motivations. I think this is a free rider generation where, I remember Christopher Lasch 30 years ago wrote a book called The Culture of Narcissism. And I think that well describes our country and the time we live in. And it's a very narcissistic generation, or generations that are alive on Earth right now. My generation, the baby boom generation, like no other generation in recorded history, was born into the lap of luxury. The best physical infrastructure ever handed to a generation we were born into. But we never felt an obligation to restore, that what's taken must be renewed. So that's a free rider. That's saying the hell with future generations. We're not going to do the same kind of sacrifice and investments that my dad's generation did to provide for us. We're not going to do that for future generations. And it is sickening. This is a logistical problem. When I say logistical, what streets do you close down? How do you start rebuilding pipes underneath buildings that are already built? That's an engineering difficulty. There shouldn't be a financial impediment to doing this, though, at all. And instead, how do we expect state and local governments to do infrastructure? We expect them to borrow on the bond markets to pay anywhere from 3 to 7% interest rates right now, I think, which means paying twice, once in principal and once in interest.